Translucency is hard. Everybody knows that. Any new artist always has a lot of problems with getting the skin right. Whether you want to show the translucency in terms of just basic shading of the skin, so if you just have a blob of whatever, you don't just shade it like this, right? Just grabbing the color and going from the brightest to the darkest in just this vertical line, increasing and decreasing brightness of the surface. You need to think about the fact that the light travels through the skin and grabs some color of the blood, and then in a very diffused manner, it gets out of the skin like this, and it shows that color of the blood. But if it's not going that deeply into the surface, it will only collect the color of the skin, so it's also translucent, but more yellow. So it's quite a weird thing to master at first, but with time you kind of realize that instead of going vertically with the shading like that, if this is the brightest color, you just need to go not vertically down, but sort of like this a bit, and a bit closer to red. Don't overdo it though, because after a while, when we're already turning away from the light source, there is not a lot of traveling through the blood situation going on, so it may get a much simpler situation there. So you just do some studies, keep this in mind that generally in the shading you need to go a bit more saturated and maybe introduce some more of the redness. Obviously I'm talking about white skin. Do you really need to think about translucency when you paint black skin? Probably not. There's a lot more attention to be paid for reflections, because when the skin is darker, you can see a lot more of the reflection. Which brings us to another point, how to show another type of translucency that is much more effective and cool looking, translucency through a thin layer of skin, through the ear or through the thin parts of the skin between the fingers when a bright light is from the back. In many cases, when I get some submissions for overpaint or something, the translucency would be added, like this reddish glow will be added on top of the area that doesn't deserve, like it's not justified to have the translucency. And the main solution to that is actually not in the way you shade the ear, it's about how you light it. Now let me demonstrate what I mean in 3D. So I have Blender open right here. Usually a painting by a beginner looks kind of like this. So we have some kind of rim lighting from the back, like this, hitting our monkey head from the back. And we're getting that translucency, but it just looks wrong. And really, the only thing you need to fix here to make it look right is to tone down the frontal lighting. The ear, where we need to actually see this orange glow in here, so on the frontal plane. This plane is lit too much, so I can go ahead and tone down the brightness of the environment of this forest texture. And there we go, immediately it looks just right. But of course they're gonna say, hey Boro, this is now a super dark scene. Is it always necessary to make such a dark scene? No. What you can do to make this work and also light up the character in general is to introduce a light source that would be working kind of like this. This light source is from the back. Let me show you like this real quick. So it's hitting from the back, giving us the translucency, and this light is like on the other side. So it's only lighting up this side of the monkey. So the whole head is casting a shadow onto the ear. You need to think through where your light sources are, as I always say, but in this case it's particularly true because you need to make sure that the part where you need to show the translucency, it has to have this perfect combination of being bright from the back and being as dark as possible from the front. So we get the situation with the Terminator, this is the main key light, and then where it ends, we have this nice dark line in the middle of the head. And then the rim light starts in this dark place, lighting up from the other side. By filmmakers, it's usually called a light sandwich, where you have a light, a face, and a light from the other side. And in the middle, you have a dark line. So that's how you do it. You can literally study this monkey right here if you want. And yeah, pay attention to the values. So where each plane of the surface is rotated and whether it can or cannot see the light. And that will help you create the proper shading that will give you the opportunity to introduce a shaded, like the dark side of the face. And you work from there to achieve this kind of result. Bye!